Welcome back to the channel, guys. Destination Destiny. The nickname for my van is Destiny, just because she's taken me right across Europe, Spain, Portugal, France, and North Coast 500, Southwest Coast 300, and hasn't missed a beat. Just amazing. And Devon and Cornwall twice already, bar hundreds of scratches, of course. Destiny is the nickname just because it's able to take me to so many amazing places, and with ease as well. Of course, I've done a lot of modifications. Security has always been top of my list. Everything I've built in the van, which I've just built on the driveway here, on the ground really, with a pallet and a few power tools, hand tools. So nothing fancy, but I'm able to achieve a lot. Now, security is top of my list. Everything. I've got at least a dozen, if not, I've counted maybe 14 security enhancements, which I'd just like to briefly show you. Of course, at the top of the van, you'll see on top there's some CCTV cameras and spotlights. There's 4 main aux beams across the top, a big 52-inch on the front, 48 on the back, and 2 smaller spotlights on the side. Excuse the traffic. And then also have 4 CCTV cameras, one on each side, and one on the front and one on the back. And they run at 720p full color resolution. I'd like to show you how those work as well. And in addition, of course, I also have at the front, you'll see here, there's a small beam here, also an aux beam, that does at least 6 different modes, and that is between yellow and white lights, strobe, fog lights, and that type of thing. So that's very useful for difficult driving conditions. But back to security, what's beautiful is that all the security can be controlled both to the front here in the cab and at the back. So while you're in bed, if you hear something, just a flick of the switch and you can have the CCTV cameras, either shown in this front console here, it's duplicated at the back as well. So maybe at night you hear a sound outside, you don't have to get out. You can just flick a switch and have a look at the cameras, which also have night vision as well. So that is very useful. And of course, switching on one of the main lights will light it up even more, but it has night vision capability, and during the day it's 720. And it's just a case of activating them here. The same panel is duplicated in the back, which I'll show you in a minute. Of course, for security purposes, this blue light, this power light, stays on. So that just an added feature. People will assume that that's got something to do with security. Another feature, well, there you can see this particular mode. I've got 3 set up here, 3 different of the cameras. You can select 4, 2, 1, whatever, how many panels you want to see. And I'll show you the back one as well, also duplicates. You can switch them on and off individually or both at the same time. And very useful as well for driving. You can have a look at the back and see what the traffic's like behind you, and looking at checking on the bicycles as well. In the front here, I've just got a little baby solar panel charged dummy, flashing LED blue light as well. It's not linked to anything, but it's very useful. Over here, I've also got a standard Immobiliser and tracking system from 2 different service providers. So I subscribe to one for the tracker and one for the Immobiliser type system. So that's very useful because I can see anytime where the van is, what it's doing. I can lock it down and I can track it as well. So that's very useful to have. And this is the control panel for the small beam on the front, which is individually controlled from these. These are just the back, the sides, and the front spotlights and beams, the main 52-inch beam. This is a standard car lock, steering wheel lock that I use. It's bright yellow, so that's very visible, and that's also very useful for security. People can see it immediately, knowing that, well, maybe they'll choose an easier victim. But nowadays, you can never be sure. You want to secure your valuables, you want to secure your van, you want to do as much as possible to alleviate and let them choose an easier target. So in addition to that there, every single door I have has hook locks. These are stainless steel, very, very strong hook locks. And they basically just have a strong hook mechanism that pops into every door. So every single door, the back one, the slide-ins, and these two passenger doors all have hook locks. And that's just another deterrent to stop anyone thinking, well, they can just pop a lock here. And you'll see here there's marrying up on the side here. And that's very, very useful as a deterrent as well. Stickers, of course, vehicle security, also very useful just to let people know that you are armed. And so also this is a screwdriver shield, Armourplate shield, just stopping people from hooking a screwdriver in and trying to get through to the door much easier. So that's just a deterrent as well. You'll see that all my doors have hook locks here. This big sliding door has one at a slight angle, and the reason that's on an angle is that because you'll see the receptacle receiving side here is also at a slight angle. So that's very useful. Those hook locks definitely, even though they're expensive, they're solid, they're stainless steel, and they're equal as a deterrent. Here you'll see the back one is slightly higher up, and also a slam lock as well on the back door. The back door's actually got three, and I'll show you the inside one. Let me do it from the inside. That'll just show you what's involved in the back one. Let's get some lights on here. Everything is controlled dual in my van. Switches on front and back just makes everything so much easier. So here is the control panel that's duplicated on the front there that you can see. So this is all my CCTV cameras. This one I've got set up as 4. And so if you lie in bed here, which is just IKEA struts that come across here with a mattress, you're lying in bed here and you hear something, you can just simply lean over here and switch the cameras on or off and have a look and see. The cameras are just one single button, and you have been able to simply control it from the bed here. And then the spotlights as well, all the beams there. This one over here is an interesting little mechanism. It's just a very simple stainless steel as well, and all it does is locks this opening door against the frame. So this one here is bolted to the top of the frame, and this is the very strong, also stainless steel, hardened steel, stainless steel mechanism. I mean, it's just a simple thing, but another deterrent that while you're lying in bed, nobody can open this back door, plus the slam lock, plus the hook lock, and of course the standard central locking. So it might sound over-engineered, but it certainly helps as well. Shed some more light on there, maybe you can see it more better there. That's all it is. It's a simple mechanism held on by a magnet. There's a magnet over there that just keeps it in place to stop it. And of course you can hook it over as well. There's provision over here if you want to put a carbonaire or some mechanism just to keep it in place. So that's very useful. This over here is an internal CCTV. It also runs at 720. Actually, no, this runs at 1080, beg your pardon. This runs at 1080, and it's a Bluetooth wireless activated, so it hooks into my router in the front, and this will alarm me and alert me to any movement inside the van while I'm away, maybe going for a walk, or wherever it is that I'm away from the van. This camera here will activate and send me an alert, and of course also video capture any movement going on in the van. So that's another additional useful security feature that I have here in the back of the van, inside the van itself. So there's a lot. I've covered that. That's just CCTVs and floodlights or spotlights. Very useful to have both dual function from the front and to the back of the cab here. So this one here, you reach just off the bed. The bed is normally at this height here. So very easy just to reach forward and see what's going on around the van without you having to get out. Maybe you just hear something, some movement, you just want to check and see. Without switching on any floodlights or spotlights, is very, very useful. And of course it has full night vision at 720p resolution. So that's very useful and just gives you peace of mind. Really, that's what you want here, peace of mind. In addition to all that, I also have a massive safe, and this safe is built into the base of this double front passenger seat. Now, the reason I've got the seat off is for upholstery purposes, but it sits on top here. And it's made of very, very strong steel. This swivels, all the seats swivel in the van, Destiny. The advantage of this one is that it now doubles as a safe. And as a matter of fact, I have two safes in here. I have another digital safe inside this one for smaller items, such as passports and whatever it is, smaller items that could be stowed away, valuables, in a small digital safe that's inside here. On top of that, this big one, which is two areas, so you can put your cameras, your laptops, whatever is very important to you, and stow them in here. And the way you access it, of course, would be to swivel the seat. You'll see that this pivots and slides as well. So just imagine that there's a big double seat above this one, and to access the safe, you would just simply undo that there, and there it is. So this acts as, if you can see that there, this is a digital safe over here. So you can put your passports in there, and that gives you full access to this cavity over here as well. And I like to put my valuables, the big items in here and smaller items in there. So that is very, very useful for having a safe and a safe within a safe, if you know what I mean. So this is very strong, very thick steel, and you can just simply padlock it closed. So there's padlocks on both front and back. Here's one here as well, and you can have two padlocks in there to keep your valuables safe. Maybe you're going into town for a walk, somewhere you parked up, just want to have that, again, peace of mind, knowing that everything's kept inside this steel safe here. You know, if they break in, you cannot afford to lose your passport or your valuables, your portable hard drives. You've stowed all your wonderful memories on there. The last thing you want is for that to be stolen. And you know how difficult it is to replace a passport, especially if you're traveling and in a foreign country. So a few extra smaller items that might seem irrelevant, but they just again add to the whole theme of security. And that is, let me show you the back one, that would be easier, on the spare wheel. But all the tires have, all the rims have lock nuts on them, and so they can't simply take these very expensive alloys off. They're welcome if they're going to try and lift this thing, because it weighs an absolute ton. So this has lock nuts on every tire, including that fifth one. So there's 5 lock nuts there. And now another interesting one I've got here is the catalytic converter. If you know how expensive catalytic converters are, the thieves love to steal them. And the problem is that if you're in a foreign country and they steal the catalytic converter, not only very expensive to replace, but also difficult to find. So just have a look. This is an Armourplate system here. And I'm just going to show you underneath how the catalytic converter is also secured. So this here is the guard that goes over the catalytic converter, and you can see that this is securely strapped on to the chassis of the van here. So it just makes it a bit more harder for them to now steal that. So there in a nutshell is all the different features that I could think of for security, and just helps one appreciate, well, this is your mobile home. This has got everything in there. The last thing you want to do is lose anything in here. And I hope that's given you some idea of the extent of security in Destination Destiny.